Well, the WWE Draft happened, and not much happened as a result of the WWE Draft. Robin Lundberg, Gene Cherry, Dave Sepperson, and guys, you're madder about this than me because I'm in agreement.
You love WWE. They can give you shit.
It was
they'll give you
pointless.
shit and you'll eat it, man. Like, come
No,
on,
it
man.
was pointless. It didn't really matter except for the
Of course it
NXT
doesn't
picks.
matter. Of
But it
course.
just, I'm not like angry about
You're
it.
a company guy. Yeah, did you get drafted tonight, Robin?
I wish.
Did you get drafted tonight?
I wish. Well, actually, I mean, I do have a WWE PR guy who's constantly sending me stuff, but none of it.
Of course. So now the truth is out.
I would like a check. If it came with a check, I'd feel better.
Cool.
Here's my thing. The draft, I understand like the concept of it is not like new and it's not a big deal and we probably shouldn't care about it. But my whole thought process is if you're gonna do it right. Having like CM Punk in the second round, Randy Orton in the second round of their like prospective nights, it just doesn't make sense. You're not picking Carmelo Hayes over Randy Orton in no world. Like if you're a GM, like that's just insane. And so yeah, I think a lot of people feel like the big issue is that like there just wasn't enough movement. And I'm not really mad about that because you can't move everybody because then you're just literally like changing the talent to different nights. So you have to kind of pick and choose. I wish there was a few more big names. Some of the people they wanted to be like, like Braun Strowman. I don't know. It doesn't do anything for me. I'm sure maybe the majority feel the same way. But like, if you're going to make it feel this special and make this thing, then just do it correctly. Like it just kind of felt very random.
I don't think it felt random. It just felt like they didn't want to make any moves, man. Like I was already imagining seeing a guy like Gunther on SmackDown taking on Cody Rhodes for the title, or Seth Rollins going to SmackDown mixing up with Randy Orton, something like that. But it seemed like they just kept everyone exactly where they were, and this was the problem. You have so many storylines that are constantly going. It kind of made no sense to have a draft because they just kept. You kind of knew where guys were going. You're not about to take Chad Gable off of Raw because he's in a program with Sami Zayn. But at the same time, I thought WWE just played it super safe. I wasn't real, and honestly, if this is how the draft is going to go, then they should honestly just get rid of it. The best part of the draft was seeing the NXT talent get called up to the main roster. If that's what it is, just it's the NXT draft just to see who gets called up. It felt like you were watching a graduation and seeing it. Like those are real emotions. You saw tears coming out of the faces of some of these superstars. To me, that was the best part. But if you're just going to keep all the heavy hitters exactly where they are, then you might as well just get rid of it at this point.
Well, no, I agree with that. I mean, the NXT stuff was the best part. That should be basically the draft. The problem is it's better for the product that people didn't get moved around. The getting moved around is some short term like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. But it doesn't actually advance anything when you have the continuity that's been established on the respective shows and the feuds that have been established on the respective shows. There's small instances of, I think, a change, mixing it up a little bit because like Nia Jax came out on SmackDown and did the same thing she's been doing to Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch, but it felt a little fresher because she was doing it to Bayley, I guess. But in general, the bloodline story has been going on SmackDown for the longest time. Raw, obviously Chad Gable and Sami Zayn has been a heavy hitting heat thing. Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, same deal there. So to mix all that up would be cutting off your nose for a cheap pop.
Well, I agree with that. You're right. There's definitely a reason to not move certain people. But there's also ways to freshen up storylines. Like Chad Gable doesn't need Alpha Academy. So break them up. Send, two of them or three of them to SmackDown. Give people different chances to do new things, especially if we know he's going to dump them anyway. Make it so that this is the night he gets to dump them. Like there's ways of telling some of these stories and using these characters in different ways. I agree. You're not going to break up, Punk and Drew. You're not going to break up, Cody and AJ Styles and, but you could still maneuver people. And you could also set it where like the draft is this week and everything takes place after Backlash, because let's be honest, some of these feuds that are coming after Backlash, they're over. Like I don't think we're going to be doing Bronson Reed for, with these guys for the next 6 weeks. I think it's going to be once Backlash hits and they figure out what they're going to do with that, then they'll move over to Sammy and Chad. And if Chad doesn't win and they want to, do something with him individually without the IC title for a little while, like there's ways of maneuvering people and doing that. I think actually kind of taking the champions off the board was also a little weird, especially because you could still draft only the women's tag team champions because Damage Control went. It just, like I said, it was convoluted. Didn't make a ton of sense. It's not that it was a bad idea. I still think the draft has value to make the rosters feel fresher and give us some new matchups. Nakamura on SmackDown will be good. Nakamura will have great matches with different people. You know, like I think a Nakamura LA Knight feud could be really interesting. There are things they can do to make stuff fresh, but don't be half in. Like, go all in. If you're gonna do it,
but then you mess up everything. So you can't, like, you want your cake and eating it too. You're basically, you agreed with my point, and then you said, but then go all the way.
Yeah,
so,
no,
like,
because here's the thing. Your point is there's all these storylines, but there's really not that many. Like, I'm sorry, I don't think Jey Uso and Damian Priest should go beyond.
They need Jey Uso on Raw if Cody's going to be on SmackDown to have a major baby
They're
face.
not going past Backlash. Nobody wants to see Jey Uso versus Damian Priest after Backlash.
But it's not Jey Uso and Damian Priest. It's Jey Uso. They need the face over there because Cody's over on SmackDown. Jey Uso's the biggest baby face in the company, not named Cody Rhodes.
That's not true. CM Punk's the biggest baby face in the company.
CM Punk doesn't wrestle right now.
It doesn't matter. You saw what he did tonight on the mic was bigger than anything. What are you talking about?
Here's the problem, Robin. He's not. Jey Uso is a huge baby face, but he's not winning the title. So once he loses, then you're doing something else with him. You could do it on SmackDown.
And then SmackDown's overly stacked.
No,
there's plenty of people you can bring.
SmackDown's got all the best people for the most part.
Then you bring, then you know what? Fine. Name them. Jey Uso over to SmackDown. You bring LA Knight over to Raw. There's your new top babyface on Raw. Give him a new opportunity to reestablish himself. Because quite frankly, on SmackDown, he's lost in the shuffle, and he's supposed to be one of the top babyfaces.
The Bloodline, Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair.
Of course.
First of all, you need to let this Jade Cargill go, man. Like, she hasn't done anything. She hasn't done anything.
Oh yeah,
she's not moving.
Nobody cares about Jade Cargill.
She's not moving any piece of the puzzle. But like, there are to say there's not a way to shake it up because like all these storylines going on to me is just nonsense. Because everything.
Why? For what
everything
purpose? I'm not with just eliminating the draft. It's just, again, it's a thing to fill programming. Sure. Basically, is what it is right now. A thing to fill programming. We
can't talk about it as if we're in the meetings. We are fans watching the product after these meetings have already happened. So it makes no sense to talk about what happened tonight. Like, you can't defend Rey Mysterio and Dom Mysterio back on the same roster again, and then they're going to do the same.
I can't. I for the record, I love that.
We've seen that for years. How many times is he gonna? When is Dom gonna spread his wings, man? Every time I gotta see him,
spread his wings.
No, we just saw Dom walk out of the locker room with Liv Morgan at the same time.
Until something happens with that means absolutely nothing. Until something happens with that means absolutely
nothing. That means nothing. What do you mean?
Okay, what's going to happen with it?
Well, that means they're setting up tension between Dominik Mysterio and Rhea Ripley, obviously, on top of the fact that Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley's feud gets hotter as a result of that. What do you mean?
That moment builds Liv Morgan to me even better because if she's able to be like, yo, I stole your man, I'm stealing your title. She could literally, because eventually they're going to put the title on Liv. And that's huge because you can have her come out and be like, I took everything from you. And that builds Rhea up as a babyface because she's going to come back from this injury and people are going to lose their minds. Judgment Day is not going to be a thing anymore. Clearly, we all tell that is they're being broken up over time. And it's a slow burn, which is fine. But like giving Liv that like revenge tour of like, I took everything from you. That's my revenge. I love it.
And it gives Dom even more heat than he always has heat, but like you forget Rhea Ripley is, for all intents and purposes, a babyface, like as far as how popular she is and how over she is. So when you have the Liv Morgan hurting her aspect of it, that already leans Liv into the heel aspect. Then you have Liv stealing Dom even further into the heel aspect. And then you have Dom betraying Mommy even further into his heel aspect. That is perfect storytelling, great foreshadowing, and there's no way that doesn't work.
Well, if all that goes, then yes, that does work. That being said, I'm still iffy on it, man. I like Liv on her own, bro. I'm cool with it. I'm cool. I like Liv on her, kind of being on the rebel side, man. Like, to me, Dom has always kind of been the sidekick. I'm waiting for him to spread his wings, man. That's why when they put him with Ray, I'm like, dog, you've already done that. You've already finished that chapter. Now you're putting him back in the Rhea storyline. I'm waiting for the day when Dom is, I'm me. I don't need nobody else. I don't need mommy. Because right now he just seems like a lackey to everybody that he's in a program with. We'll see if this is to put Liv to the next level, cool. But I'm waiting for the day when Dom Mysterio's like, I don't need mommy. I don't need Liv. I don't need my dad. And I'm trying to do my thing. Because to me, he's ultra talented. He's got the heat. Rhea doesn't have that nickname unless he gives it to her. So the man could automatically generate stardom. So to me, I'm waiting for the day that Dom just kind of spreads his wing. But we'll see what happens.
Eugene, because Dom does need that like next level like story that like puts him on his own pedestal.
He's a star, man.
Elevates himself because he's very much been a secondary character for a lot of things going on right now, and he's great. He's got immense heat. He's a good worker. People really like to boom. Like there are ways they should use him, and I truly believe when Judgment Day breaks up and he takes that next step on his own to do whatever his next storyline is going to be, maybe he eventually fights a Sami Zayn or something like that. Like there will be that moment where he will hopefully get that chance to elevate himself and do something else. And that's what's going to be interesting with Dom is he's going to have to reinvent himself in a way to elevate himself. Because
what about a Dom Rhea Ripley match?
You still put him on Rhea Ripley, dog. Like get him away from
come
that.
on, that's great.
Mario, is he gonna beat Rhea Ripley, dog? No, he's not. No, he's not.
No,
he's not gonna beat Rhea Ripley. So
I don't think he should lose to Rhea because that makes him look bad. I think they're doing.
What are you talking about? That's Rhea Ripley.
No, but here's the thing: they're doing. Rhea doesn't need to beat Dom Mysterio.
I'm about to say, Dom doesn't need to lose to Rhea Ripley. That makes
her match with Liv will be great, but Dom needs that thing that separates himself. And that's why I say like. Dirty Dom is great, but he needs a new thing. Like eventually, when Judgment Day breaks off, he needs to figure out what is my next step. Every wrestler over their career elevates themselves in a new way. It's sometimes just a slight tweak, but he's got to find that thing of whatever that thing for him is going to be that elevates him to that next level of heel.
He's also
I don't know what it is
right
personally,
now,
but I'm going to tell you what it is.
It's tough to, it's tough to do that stuff when you're injured. He's not going to wrestle anybody right now.
Fair.
But speaking of injuries, Tony Khan had that neck brace on and got a lot of attention for it. You know what? There's two aspects to this. One is the whole comments he made on NFL Network, which I actually thought was a pretty good line. But at the same time, when they're going to do the whole like appreciate all wrestling, that makes him the tribalism chief by making the comments that he did, trying to go up against the big dog, right? Like, so he's just asking for WWE to clap back and come back at him. And they were also coming off of a show that was their lowest rated in I don't know how many years. At the same time, he got more attention for that than I think AEW's ever gotten. Maybe aside from CM Punk's debut, other than that, I don't know if AEW has been on the minds of casual fans more than Tony Khan wearing that neck brace, getting talked about by Rich Eisen, getting talked about by whomever else. So for that part of it, I'll give him credit because whether or not it winds up converting people into viewers, that remains to be seen, but it certainly got mainstream media attention.
That's the thing. The CM Punk return was huge in the wrestling community, but outside of like general people, they didn't really like jump out of their way to be like, I have to go watch CM Punk. A lot of hardcore wrestling fans were like, I got to watch this guy. This was genius. I love when you can bring kayfabe into real life stuff. Him wearing the neck brace at the draft, incredible promotion for the company. Honestly, one of the smartest things he could have done because the draft is watched by a ton of sports fans, and it'll be watched by people who might have watched wrestling back in the day and are like, "Oh, WWE is the only show in town." You mentioned it when you were at WrestleMania. That woman had never even heard of AEW. There's a lot of people who just don't know it exists. So when you put it on a level of the NFL, you are giving it a set of eyeballs to be like, hey, we exist. You might have loved wrestling at one point. Come check us out. Like, and hopefully casuals will just kind of be like, oh, I saw that once. Let me see what's happening. Like, we don't know. Maybe it turns into nothing, but getting yourself in that kind of promotion with that kind of level of league, brilliant.
Now, I loved it. I hated the comment about the Harvey Weinstein comment. I thought that was just out of left field. To me, I thought the shots were done. But if we're just talking about the neck brace, I thought that was brilliant, man. I thought the way Dynamite ended, I thought that was dope. The fact that it seemed calculated, it seemed intentional. That's what I liked about it. And Tony Khan, he's a desperate man right now. And he's pulling out all the tricks to get as much buzz as possible for his company. Like, he is scrapping. I respect it as far as that, but as far as a Harvey Weinstein comment, I could live without that, man. Like, I hope we don't hear stuff like that on national television, because to me, it just paints a black eye on pro wrestling. We know what happened. We know what happened with the whole Vince situation. Don't need to bring it up, especially when it just came out of left field. It was just unwarranted. But as far as Tony Khan goes, man, like, he's a desperate man. I respect his grind. And yeah, kayfabe, let's keep it alive, man. Let's keep it alive.
I will say I agree. The comment was very unnecessary. And it's one thing to try and build yourself up and take a pot shot at WWE to try and like keep the feud going. Because listen, at the end of the day, WWE did stuff like this all the time when it was the WWF and WCW. They were taking pot shots at WCW. It's never bad to kind of like just keep.
But you can't send Edge out to go like, oh, don't ever say anything and like and then do this.
Did you see Edge's comments? He just Edge didn't even see the. What are you talking about? Edge made that on himself. He didn't send Edge out. Edge made the comment. Edge said he took it upon himself to do it. What are you talking about?
And he got that entire opening promo segment for.
He said he took it upon himself because guys in the lot. Edge literally said he took it upon himself. He didn't even see the CM Punk interview like that. He just took it upon himself to go out and paint positivity about the world of pro wrestling. That's why he did it. Tony Khan did it.
Well, then either way, Tony Khan made him look like a hypocrite in that. Point is, you can't say what Tony Khan said on the NFL Network and then ever complain about somebody taking a shot at you. Like I agree. That's the biggest shot you can throw out, the biggest salvo, unnecessary, unwarranted on the biggest platform he's ever had.
Especially when that guy's like, Vince is not even in WWE anymore. Like his shares are all gone. Like we are clearly
in a desperate comment.
He does not exist in WWE's eyes.
Well, I mean, like, look, people were speculating about the Nick Khan thing. Sure. There's no other shoe that's dropped there yet, so it's a little unfair just because his shares were put up there. You had Shad Khan on the show as well. Like he had the reaction as it was happening, but to the desperation point, AEW was coming off of. I saw they got dropped by DAZN. That felt like people are just ganging up on them because I don't even know where they're being covered by DAZN. Same thing with the seat filler thing. I don't know if you guys saw that, but like that happens all the time. That's a normal thing. Yeah. However, they were coming, we've discussed, I'm only bringing this up because we discussed the CM Punk video bit and the bump that may have done for their numbers and whether it was going to be sustained or not. And they had their lowest rated show in like 2 years last Wednesday.
And that's a bummer because the show was good. Like that, it's hard to be like critical of
ratings don't mean anything. Let's keep it real.
They do.
Gene, you brought them up in the context of him getting a victory lap.
He got his bump that he wanted, right?
But we made the point on that same episode that yes, of course he was going to get a short-term bump. Is it going to do anything for them long-term? So
okay, and if they bump next week, what are we going to say? Are we going to bring up AEW? I would just wonder, are we going to bring up AEW ratings every week? Because if that's what we're doing,
I'm not going to bring it. You called them desperate just 2 seconds ago. Why else would you desperate?
You brought the graphic up. What are you talking about? You pulled the graphic.
Here's the real problem with AEW. Hang on.
You pulled the graphic.
Hang on. Here's the real problem with AEW. It's not about the ratings. It's about just getting eyeballs on the product. My biggest critique of AEW right now is they don't have a deal with a streaming platform for their pay-per-views for the average viewer. Like a hardcore wrestling fan might shell out the $50 to watch Dynasty. But in this day and age, $50 for one pay-per-view is a lot of money. And we're especially with WWE where you get all the PLEs under Peacock or whatever you're
doing. I mean, like I'm example A of that. We're doing a wrestling podcast right now. I would like to watch AEW's pay-per-views, but I don't want to spend $50 a pop or have to jump through hoops to get to watch them and do it in some give me whether it's on what's Time Warner's thing, Max or whatever,
Max,
whatever one it's on. I don't care. Everybody's got every single one of those by now.
Exactly. That's the thing. And we know it's popular because listen, Netflix bought WWE, they want it. So there are other streaming platforms where if you say, hey, Netflix clearly wanted WWE. If we're the number 2 show in town, you should want us. We're not going to cost nearly as much as WWE did, but you're still going to get great wrestling content. And listen, I don't care what the rating number is. The fact is, AEW's rating, maybe it's not on the line with Raw, but if you put it next to any other show on television, it's doing better. Raw wrestling ratings are still better than an average cable channel some nights. So there's a viewership that wants to watch wrestling. So you should be able to sell that to a streaming company. You should be able to say, hey, Peacock, you're losing WWE. Come get AEW. Hey, Max, we want to work with you. Like, that will bring people in. Like, even you look at the smaller wrestling companies, ROH, people buy the ROH wrestling because they want to watch it. So, like, if you tell a streaming company, like, we will bring you viewers, like, why would they not cut a deal? They're going to make money. It feels like maybe they won't make as much as like what WWE did. So you have to,
well, I mean, we brought this up in the text, I don't think, but that's why their next media rights deal is so important. I mean, it's going to determine the vitality of the company. I mean, how much they get paid, where their stuff is actually broadcast for where you're going to see it going forward, where their pay-per-views are broadcast, so how you can see them and consume them going forward. That is the single most important thing for a company like WWE or AEW, or you see it with the NBA right now. The NBA is shopping Amazon just scooped up one, and now TNT might lose it. Or the WNBA and the talk about them possibly doubling the deal, which would get all the ladies paid more. That is the single most important thing for any major entertainment brand is the media rights deal.
Yeah, especially nowadays where like every stream platform has some form of sports. Like it's crazy. We went from like everybody wanted cable because it was all connected to now everything's on all these different streaming platforms. You have to pay XYZ for all these different things because otherwise you can't watch all the sports or all the entertainment you want to watch. So it's like, it's crazy, but this is the world we live in now.
All right. Last thing. Do you guys think Cody Rhodes would be a good heel? Because The Undertaker said that I think he has a podcast now. Everybody's got a podcast, but he said it just felt like it's funny because he was there at WrestleMania, right? And also, all the Cody Homelander memes coming out. I want to serve this one up to Gene because I think Gene is the one who's been slyly pushing the fans aren't going to feel Cody after he has the title narrative a bit, no?
Well, hold on. I like Cody. I think I would have preferred to see Rock and Roman. I think that would have been better, but Cody Rhodes turning heel, maybe, but I don't see it happening. The man is so over with the kids, man. He's kissing babies, all this stuff. His merchandise is selling. I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon. But let's be real. Cody was a heel. We saw him in Legacy. We saw him as Stardust. We saw him as the dashing Cody Rhodes. We've seen so many different versions of him. It's not like the man can't do it. He's the natural born actor. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. But right now, I don't see it happening. But yeah.
The question is, could he? Absolutely. We saw him do it in AEW. He's a great heel. He knows that he's a great pro wrestler. He knows how to get the crowd to react one way or another. Should he? Absolutely not. When you build a babyface the way they built Cody Rhodes, you are insane to turn him heel because he is proving to be a merchandise driver. He's selling tickets, like especially with Roman gone. I know we all say how great he is. Like he was not around every week. Cody is on the road every week. He is at live events. That guy is constantly out there making you money. To turn him heel would be a insane decision. Could he? Absolutely. Should he? No way.
Well, now, of course not. Maybe a year or two down.
Nah, not even. I don't think he's. I think he's the John Cena, man. He's the John Cena of this era.
Listen, Cena was a face for a long time, and
got booed though as a face.
But here's the thing: the argument is Cena should have turned heel. Hang on, because here's my argument because Cena should have turned heel because you still would have made a ton of money on a heel John Cena, and you would have sold even more merch. In my opinion.
But he was doing the Make-A-Wish stuff, man. Like
that's all. Listen, that's all well and good, and I love John Cena. I will never say a bad word about that man. And what he's done for that is, quite frankly, incomparable. It is that incredible. But the argument of just from the wrestling standpoint, he would have been more entertaining as a heel at a certain point. Cody Rhodes can't be a face forever. You're going to have to one day shake it up. I'm not saying that day is today. I'm not saying that day is in 2 years, but eventually you're going to have to. Things change. You'll have other baby faces. You still have Punk. You got Jey Uso, and who knows? Uso might eventually go back to tag team wrestling. A lot of things can happen, but there are a lot of other young wrestlers coming up. Cody doesn't have to be the face forever, but for now and for at least we still have tons of storylines we got to do with CM Punk. We got a ton of storylines we got to do with The Rock, Seth Rollins. Like there's way more to still do.
Man, the final boss ain't going anywhere anytime soon. What do you mean? Cody's not going to turn heel anytime soon, man. Like it's done. That time is done.
I will say eventually, if you do a Cody Rhodes CM Punk deal, that is the one reason I can make an argument for Cody turning heel. Only because only because CM Punk is a really good babyface. Now, because of the AEW stuff that you could actually bring in to a Cody Rhodes CM Punk feud, like you could honestly go either way. And I do one day when those two get to tie up, it's going to be magic. It's going to be great.
I just think they need to bring some of the antagonists back for Cody Rhodes or somebody level, because like this AJ Styles match is like whatever. Like it'll be a good
they're
match.
Hurting right now. A lot. They're hitting right now. They're hurting. They're hurting.
It'll
really
be a good match, but like we know Cody Rhodes is going to win, and there's like no heat behind. Like, why do I care?
agree. Listen, this match is very much a filler match of kind of you're the champ. We're going to put you over. It'll be easy. Listen, I want to see him fight guys like Randy Orton next. There are way more interesting stories that they could do with Cody that like are better than this random AJ Styles match. I quite frankly would have rather have seen Kevin Owens win that tournament because I think Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes would have been more entertaining. And I love AJ Styles. He's a great wrestler. What he did in New Japan and his run has been amazing. Like they're going to put on a great match, but the build for that is kind of not what I want it to be.
And I don't think anyone expected it. It's a filler.
Well, sometimes you got to fill. That's also part of the business too. Like they can't all be the Roman and Cody from WrestleMania night 2. Needle Wrestling, Robin Lundberg, Gene Cherry, Dave Sepperson.